On mornings like this, when the radiator hums its low winter song and the sun barely lifts itself over the edge of the curtains, even the smallest corner of a room can feel heavier than it did in summer. Winter has a way of slowing the world down just enough for us to finally notice the little stacks, the forgotten piles, the things we meant to deal with one day. And that's exactly what happened to Marlowe Finch, a 72-year-old retired train conductor from Minnesota with a voice as calm as snowfall and a habit of noticing life's quiet details. He says winter gives him something the rest of the year never does: enough stillness to see what's sitting in his home and what's sitting on his heart. As he looked around one chilly morning, he realized the clutter wasn't just objects, it was weight he didn't need to carry into another year. If you've ever stood in your own home on a cold morning and felt that same tug, that tiny whisper that tells you something needs to shift, you're in good company. Before we go on, if this moment already feels familiar, go ahead and hit like, tap subscribe, and don't forget the new hype button. It's one of the simplest ways to push senior voices higher on YouTube, and it helps this message reach more people who might be feeling this same winter heaviness. You get 3 hypes a week, and each one boosts this video on the leaderboard. As we settle into this story, think about your own home for a second, the way winter changes the way you see things, feel things, move through your rooms. Do the colder months shift how your space feels to you? Let me know in the comments, because your experience helps guide this community. Tip 1. The cold weather clarity trick. There's a particular kind of truth that winter brings into a home, a tender, unhurried truth that arrives quietly, like a soft knock on the door. You don't invite it in, it just slips through the windows with the cold air and settles itself wherever it pleases. Winter has a rhythm that older adults understand deeply. It slows the world. It hushes the noise. It gives your thoughts more room to stretch out. And in that calm, your home begins to speak in ways it never does in July or August. Winter light plays the biggest role in this. It doesn't blast into the room with the confidence of summer. Instead, it glides in low and gentle, almost cautious, touching surfaces with a careful hand. The angle is different. The shadows fall longer. The light lands in places it ignores during warmer months, beneath shelves, behind chairs, across drawers left half open, onto stacks that have blended into the background for far too long. For seniors, that difference feels almost emotional. Winter light gives you a slower way of seeing, a way that honors the pace your body and mind naturally shift into this time of year. Marlowe Finch discovered this one morning so cold he could see his breath when he first stepped out of bed. The house was quiet in that deep winter way, not empty, just calm. As he walked toward the kitchen, wrapped in a robe he'd had since his conductor days, the winter sun crept under the curtains and landed right on a small wooden stool beside the counter. On that stool sat things he hadn't consciously noticed in years: a cracked mug he meant to fix, a stack of old receipts curled from age, and a jar of buttons he kept just in case but hadn't opened since 1998. He paused. Somehow, in that pale light, the objects felt louder than they had the day before. Not overwhelming, just honest. He later said, "Winter light tells the truth without hurting your feelings." That line stayed with me, because it captures exactly why this trick works so well for older adults. When the world slows down, your home becomes clearer. When your body moves more gently, your eyes pay better attention. When distractions fade, memories sharpen, and so does your awareness of what supports you and what quietly weighs you down. Marlowe began to treat this as a daily ritual. Not decluttering, noticing. Each morning, he entered a different room right as the winter sun touched it. He didn't force himself to clean or organize. He didn't pull out bins or bags. He simply observed where the light settled first. If it landed on a cluttered nightstand, he spent a few minutes bringing calm to that spot. If it fell across the edge of a bookshelf crowded with things he no longer read, he chose 1 or 2 items to reconsider. If it highlighted a drawer that stuck out of place, he finally saw it as something asking for a moment of care. This winter clarity method doesn't ask for strength, speed, or big emotional leaps. It aligns with the gentle pace seniors naturally lean into. It also focuses on the areas your eyes return to over and over, the places your mind registers even when you don't consciously notice them. When those areas become lighter, your whole emotional landscape shifts. The room feels less demanding. Your mornings feel easier. The house begins to feel like a companion again, not a burden. Winter stops feeling heavy and instead becomes a season of small, meaningful clarity. And for older adults, that clarity is often the key to feeling grounded and capable again. Do you notice certain spots in your home differently when the days get colder? A corner that suddenly stands out, a surface that feels busier, or a space that calls for attention? Share it below. Your experience might be exactly what another senior needs to hear to feel understood. And if this message is already bringing you a sense of calm, tap like, hit subscribe, and use the hype button. Every hype helps lift this video so more older adults can find these gentle winter tools. The next method is deeply emotional. It helped Marlowe release belongings he once believed he would carry with him for the rest of his life. Tip 2. The December Memory Sort. December has a way of gathering your whole life around you. Not loudly, not all at once, but gradually, like frost forming on a window pane. One memory appears, then another. A familiar song plays on the radio, or you catch a scent in the air, and suddenly you're pulled back into a moment you haven't visited in years. For many older adults, this time of year feels tender. The warmth of old traditions sits side by side with the ache of people who aren't here anymore. The quiet of winter seems to invite reflection, but that reflection can be heavy if you're surrounded by objects tied to memories you haven't had the heart to face. That's why the usual keep or toss approach doesn't work for seniors. It's too sharp, too rushed, too removed from the emotional truth that aging carries. Marlowe Finch understood this better than anyone. December always made him thoughtful, not sad, just aware. Aware of the decades behind him, the people he'd loved, the journeys he'd taken, and the things he still held onto even when they didn't bring him peace. So he created a method that felt gentle, humane, and deeply respectful of a lifetime of stories. He called it the December Memory Sort, and it begins with one simple shift. Instead of asking, "Should I keep this?" he asked, "What does this do to my heart?" That question alone changed everything. The December Memory Sort has only two categories, memory warmers and memory drainers, and those categories are based entirely on emotional reality, not utility or rules. Memory warmers are items that bring comfort the moment you touch them. You don't have to justify them, prove their usefulness, or explain why you love them. You just feel the warmth. These objects might bring a smile, a sense of safety, or a soft moment of gratitude. They support you emotionally. They remind you of joy, connection, or the best parts of who you've been. Memory drainers, however, are trickier. They're not trash. They're often tied to chapters that still tug at the heart in ways that take energy instead of giving it. They may represent loss, guilt, unfinished business, or a version of yourself you no longer need to carry. Many seniors keep these objects because of loyalty or obligation, not because they bring peace. And that's the burden Marlowe wanted to gently release. One snowy afternoon, he opened a cedar box he hadn't touched in years. Inside was a Navy conductor's scarf from the early days of his career. At first, it felt like a memory warmer. It held pride, accomplishment, long miles traveled, and a younger version of himself full of purpose. But as he held it closer, something heavier rose to the surface. The scarf reminded him of the holidays he'd missed, the cold nights he spent alone on the rails, the colleagues he'd lost over the years. It held too many conflicting memories, too many ghosts. For decades, he kept it because he believed letting go meant forgetting. But now, held in the soft quiet of winter, he realized the truth. The memories weren't inside the scarf. They were inside him. And they weren't going anywhere. So he placed the scarf in the memory drainer pile. Not to erase his past, but to stop carrying the part of it that weighed on his spirit. That release didn't feel like loss, it felt like relief. Like making room for the man he has become, instead of holding on to the man he used to be. That's the heart of the December Memory Sort, honoring your memories without letting them burden your present. It's a method built on dignity. It allows seniors to move slowly, breathe deeply, and choose what supports emotional well-being rather than clinging to objects out of duty. You don't have to sort everything. You don't have to finish in one day. You only have to ask the question that truly matters: does this warm me, or does it weigh me down? And whatever your heart answers, that's enough. What's one object you've held on to because of a memory? Share it below. Your story might give someone else the courage to begin their own gentle December sorting ritual. And if this approach feels comforting, tap like, hit subscribe, and use the hype button so more older adults can discover this kinder way of letting go. The next method grows even more important when winter makes movement slower and the home needs to support you with ease. Tip 3. The Mobility-First Declutter Map. Winter doesn't just change the weather, it changes the body, the pace, the way you move, and the way your home feels beneath your feet. For many older adults, these shifts happen quietly at first. Walking from the bedroom to the kitchen feels a little slower. Turning to reach for something on a shelf requires a second thought. Bending down to pick up an item off the floor becomes something you plan, not something you do automatically. None of this means weakness. It simply means the body is speaking more honestly, and winter is one of the seasons when those whispers become clearer. That's exactly why Marlowe Finch created what he calls the Mobility-First Declutter Map, a winter method designed specifically for the way seniors move when the temperature drops. He realized that most organizing systems focus on appearance first, comfort second, and mobility somewhere near the bottom. But winter demands the opposite. So instead of starting with closets or cabinets, he began with what he called his warm paths, the routes he walked most often when the cold kept him indoors. These paths were simple, from his recliner to the kitchen, from the bedroom to the bathroom, and around the living room where he paced gently each morning to loosen stiff joints. Rather than tidying the whole room, he cleared these walkways first. Anything that narrowed the path, a basket, a footstool, a plant stand, even a pair of shoes, was moved aside. He paid attention to anything that made him sidestep, twist, or adjust his balance. 1 inch of space can make a big difference when your body is layered in winter clothing and your steps are cautious. As he adjusted these paths, something unexpected happened. His home started to feel safer. Not bigger, not tidier, safer. His confidence increased because the routes he used most were no longer cluttered or awkward. He described it as making winter easier to walk through, a phrase that stuck with me. Once the warm paths felt open and supportive, Marlowe moved to the second part of his method, what he called the reach zone rule. Winter, with its stiff joints and increased fall risks, is the worst time to store things in hard-to-reach places. So he stood in each room and asked one question: if I needed this today, could I reach it without strain? If the answer was no, it moved. High shelves were cleared of essential items. Lower cabinets were simplified. Heavy things were brought up to waist level. Daily items, slippers, reading glasses, a heating pad, skin cream, his favorite mug, were placed exactly where his hands naturally landed. Not because he was aging out of the old ways, but because he finally accepted something powerful: the home should adjust to the body, not the other way around. This shift gave him more than convenience, it gave him dignity. He wasn't fighting his home anymore. He wasn't wincing when bending, stretching, or twisting. Winter became less of a battle and more of a companion. The Mobility-First Declutter Map works so well because it's built on kindness, not pressure. It asks you to think about your comfort first. It shows you how small physical changes can bring huge emotional relief. And it reminds you that caring for your space is also caring for your body, the same body that has carried you, loved you, and protected you for so many decades. Which spot in your home feels hard to reach these days? Share it below. Someone else might hear your story and rethink their home in a way that keeps them safer this winter. And if this is already giving you ideas, tap like, hit subscribe, and don't forget the hype button. Your support helps more older adults create homes that truly rise to meet them. The next method is the one seniors say brings the deepest sense of comfort, a winter ritual that transforms even the busiest room into a place of peace. Tip 4. The Cozy Corner Reset. Winter has this gentle way of making our worlds feel smaller, but in a comforting, nest-like way. When the cold presses against the windows and the days grow short, the places where we pause, breathe, and rest become almost sacred. For many older adults, though, the idea of decluttering entire rooms can feel overwhelming before the first step is even taken. Too big, too much, too tiring. That's why Marlowe Finch created what became one of his most beloved winter rituals, choosing just one single corner to transform into a sanctuary. Not a whole room. Not a massive project. Just one peaceful, nourishing spot that restores you the moment you settle into it. He calls this simple but powerful shift the Cozy Corner Reset. Marlowe's corner was his old reading nook, a small cluster of memories, an armchair rescued from his conductor days, a sturdy side table, and a lamp he bought from a yard sale decades ago. Over time, the nook had gathered clutter the way winter gathers snowdrifts, slowly, quietly, without intention. A stack of half-read books, a tangle of remotes, scraps of unopened mail, an itchy blanket he kept only out of habit. Instead of forcing himself to face the entire room, he focused only on that one little space. He began with a single question: does this make my corner feel like a refuge or a responsibility? Anything that added softness stayed. Anything that added noise went. He kept his warmest blanket, the one that soothed him on long nights. He chose a single book he truly wanted to read instead of piling 10 beside the chair. He kept a coaster for his evening tea. And he placed the lamp back exactly where it cast that golden glow reminiscent of the quiet stations he worked in at night during his early years on the rails. When he stepped back, the transformation wasn't dramatic, but the feeling was. It felt like winter exhaled, he said. A pocket of calm opened up inside him, mirroring the small pocket of calm he'd created in his home. This method works beautifully for seniors because it honors the way the mind adapts to change with age. Big projects feel draining, but one corner feels doable. And when that one corner feels peaceful, a psychological shift begins. Confidence returns. Energy gathers. A sense of "I can handle this" quietly rises. Research and real-life experience both show that for older adults, one stable, comforting spot can act as an emotional anchor, a place that reminds the mind and body that safety and ease are possible. And once you have that anchor, everything else becomes more manageable. Marlowe calls this his winter reset button. Whenever he feels scattered, lonely, or weighed down by the season, he sits in his cozy corner and lets the softness bring him back to center. That little circle of rest gives him the strength to take his next step. Always small, always gentle, but always forward. You can create your own cozy corner anywhere you naturally pause during winter. A chair by the window, a bedside table, a kitchen stool, a bathroom counter where you start your morning. Clear it with kindness. Add warmth. Add softness. Make it a spot that feels like it's holding you. Before long, you'll notice that this small shift makes the rest of the home feel less overwhelming and far more possible. And now, we reach the final tip. The one seniors say transforms the entire home's energy in just minutes, because it changes not what you clear, but where you clear it. Tip 5. The 5-minute fireplace sweep. There's a reason people once gathered around the hearth, even long before homes were warm or comfortable. The fireplace wasn't just a heat source, it was the emotional center of the house. A place where the family slowed down, breathed deeper, and felt safe. But what often gets forgotten is that the space around the fire was just as important as the flame itself. It had to be open, cleared, respected. Nothing crowded it, nothing cluttered it, nothing blocked the glow. That open circle created a sense of peace. And years later, even without an actual fireplace, Marlowe Finch realized that same peace could be created anywhere. One night in early January, with wind rattling the windows and snow falling like powdered sugar across the porch, Marlowe lowered himself into his recliner. His knees were stiff, his shoulders tense, and the house felt strangely busy, as he described it, not because it was messy, but because every little thing was competing for his attention. The blanket draped over the armrest, the pile of papers at his feet, the books leaning sideways on the table, the cup left over from the morning. When you're older and spending more time indoors, especially during winter, your surroundings speak louder. And sometimes, they speak all at once. That's when it hit him, this space needs a half. So he decided to treat his recliner the way pioneers treated their fireplaces, as the heart of the home. And that's how the 5-minute fireplace sweep was born. Here's how it works. You pick the one place where your body naturally gravitates during winter, your reading chair, your sofa cushion, your bedside, even the corner where you sit to drink your morning tea. That becomes your fireplace. Then you clear the 3 to 4 feet around it. Only that. Only the circle. Only the space you can reach without stretching, twisting, or bending. Marlowe set a 5-minute timer, not because he needed to rush, but because knowing there was an ending helped him begin. He picked up the things within arm's reach, The remotes he didn't use, the day-old cup, the crumpled flyer from the grocery store. He folded his favorite blanket neatly. He placed his reading glasses in a little dish. He removed the stack of outdated newspapers he kept telling himself he'd get to someday. After 5 minutes, he stopped, even though he wasn't technically done. And that was the point. When he sat back down, the difference was immediate. Not dramatic, not drastic, but profoundly calming. It felt like the room finally stopped talking, he told me. That cleared circle created a small but powerful emotional shift. Seniors especially benefit from this because visual clutter creates mental tension, tension you may not feel until it's gone. When your main winter spot feels clear, your mind feels clearer. When that circle is open, your body relaxes. Winter doesn't feel heavy anymore, it feels gentle. The fireplace sweep works in every room. In the kitchen, clear the area around your coffee-making spot. This simple step can make mornings feel hopeful instead of rushed. In the bathroom, clear the first feet around the sink. A tidy morning starting point sets the tone for the whole day. In the bedroom, clear your bedside circle. A peaceful first sight in the morning reduces anxiety, especially in the winter months when days start slow. In the living room, clear the radius around your recliner or couch, the place where your body settles during cold evenings. What makes this method so loved among seniors is that it's manageable. You don't strain your body, you don't get overwhelmed, and you don't trigger fatigue or frustration. You simply create space where space matters most, around you. And the emotional effect is real. Once Marlowe created his fireplace circle, he found himself taking deeper breaths, thinking kinder thoughts, and feeling more at home in his own home. He said, "It's not the clearing that helps me, it's the breathing room." And that's exactly what winter asks us for: room to breathe, room to rest, room to feel warmth again. Choose your fireplace. Give yourself 5 quiet minutes. Clear just the circle around your warmth. And watch how your whole home, and your whole mood, begins to soften. When Marlowe Finch first stepped into his winter home this year, he felt that familiar heaviness, not from the cold outside, but from the quiet weight of objects that had gathered around him over time. His mornings felt slower, not peaceful but cluttered. His favorite chair felt crowded. His kitchen counters felt louder than his thoughts. Winter used to be his season of rest, but lately it had become a season of noticing too much and feeling powerless to change it. But as he worked through each gentle winter method, the shift wasn't dramatic, it was steady, almost like a room warming up 1 degree at a time. After the cold weather clarity trick, he started seeing his space with softer honesty. After the December memory sort, he felt lighter, as if he'd finally set down something he didn't realize he'd been carrying. After creating his cozy corner reset, he found himself sitting longer, breathing deeper, thinking kinder thoughts. And the Mobility-First Declutter Map surprised him most. He didn't realize how much tension he held in his shoulders navigating furniture he no longer needed. Each adjustment made his home feel more like a companion than a burden. His mornings became easier. Instead of shuffling through items to reach what he needed, things were simply where his hands expected them to be. His evenings carried warmth, not from a fireplace, but from small pockets of comfort he intentionally shaped. For the first time in years, winter didn't feel like something pressing in on him, but something he could move through with ease. If you could walk beside him now, you'd notice a different kind of quiet in his home. Not the quiet of loneliness, but the quiet of calm. Routines rebuilt gently. Spaces cleared with intention. A season that finally gave back instead of taking. Winter became his soft beginning. And it can be yours too. Before you think about anything big, I want you to pause and take a breath. Winter isn't asking you to overhaul your whole home. It's asking you to choose one small thing that brings you comfort today. Maybe it's clearing 3 feet around your favorite chair. Maybe it's sorting one memory-filled item. Maybe it's creating a cozy corner that reminds you you're still here, still growing, still deserving of warmth. Start with one of these 5 tips, just one, before the day ends. A small shift is powerful at this stage of life. Every gentle step opens the door for another. And if this video has supported you, here's how you can help support this community in return. To use the hype feature, step 1. On your YouTube app, scroll down past the video and swipe left on the comment preview carousel until you find the hype button. Step 2. Tap hype. Step 3. Choose how many points you want to give. Remember, smaller creators receive an even bigger boost. Step 4. Confirm. That's it. You get 3 free hypes every week, and every single one helps older adults discover content made specifically for them. And while you're here, don't forget to like this video, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a new story, tip, or moment of peace. You deserve a home that feels gentle, warm, and easy to live in, especially this winter.